The science fiction genre is practically revered for giving us some of the darkest, most unforgettable stories ever created. In this video, we're tempted to share a 6-hour encyclopedia, and even that would feel short, of all the amazing stories in this galaxy. But for the sake of sanity, we're just gonna stick to 15 selections in anime. We chose each title based not just on its worth and wonder as a sci-fi masterpiece, but also just how dark each story is at its core. None of them are ranked, they all get top billing under our marvelous roof. Let us know in the comments if we missed one and which of our chosen titles is your favorite. Ergo Proxy. Set in a dystopian future where humans are forced to survive in domed cities because of a perilously polluted Earth, Ergo Proxy stands out as a relevant and thought-provoking science fiction anime. Its uninhabitable Earth setting is highly reminiscent of our ongoing climate crisis. If that wasn't dark enough, the fact that this cyberpunk-themed series aired way back in 2006 might very well be. The story takes place in Romdo, a city governed by artificial intelligence and strict societal controls. Gee, doesn't sound all that different from the US after Trump's takeover. Comeback. Androids called auto-raves offer different types of assistance in this tale. Elon Musk might have really liked this series, you never know. The show's bleak mood emphasizes themes like existentialism, identity, and the dark consequences of technological advancement. Riel Meyer, the protagonist, is a sharp and determined investigator. She uncovers sinister secrets about the proxies, mysterious beings intricately connected to the city's survival. Vincent Law, an immigrant with a hidden past, crosses paths with her. And then there's Pino, a childlike auto-rave infected with the Cogito virus. Get this, the virus is feared because it grants self-awareness to AI bots. The characters in Ergo Proxy grapple with identity, purpose, and human nature, infusing this sci-fi narrative with serious psychological depth. They even question their own reality and the systems controlling them, a feeling I think we're all pretty familiar with since the pandemic. The anime explores deeply philosophical questions like what it means to be human, the ethics of creation, and the search for meaning in a world divided. The anime's non-linear storytelling often uses surreal visuals and symbolic imagery. Though its action sequences are few and far between, they're nevertheless impactful. This disturbingly dystopian anime not only heightens its plot tension at key moments, but also reveals character motivations in creepy but eye-opening ways, all while slowly unraveling its incredible central mystery. Technolize. As a dark, introspective science fiction anime, Technolize checks off some pretty dark boxes. In the decaying subterranean city of Lux is a society on the verge of collapse. This alone is grim and oppressive, but the anime goes on to capture tropes like uncertainty, despair, and inevitable decline. No doubt about it, Lux is a fractured world, one in which crime syndicates, a mysterious ruling class, and desperate citizens suffer and make others suffer just to survive. The tense and foreboding atmosphere in this story is accentuated by a memorable roster of characters, starting with a stoic fighter called Ichise, around whom the story revolves. He loses an arm and a leg only to receive experimental Technolize prosthetics which grant him enhanced abilities. His journey merges with that of a clairvoyant girl named Ran. Then there's Keigo Unishi, a realistic leader who tries to maintain order where he can. All these characters embody the struggle for meaning in a world where hope has practically died. Aside from its potent dark ambiance, Technolize is also renowned among fans for its deep psychological narratives and how expertly its story explores human weakness, existentialism, and the consequences of technological dependency. Simply watching how this 2003 anime probes the idea of free will has made us understand why just so many viewers were left feeling a sense of introspective unease regarding this anime. Its storytelling is intentionally slow and atmospheric, with an emphasis on visual symbolism and crisp dialogue. The characters have their own internal struggles as they go about inhabiting an exceptionally bleak world. You won't find any traditional narrative structure. That's what makes this anime so dark and intriguing. Fans have since admired the abstract and immersive nature of the show, especially its meanings, which are open to interpretation. Technolize is no softcore anime either. Its action sequences are brutal, though infrequent. They admirably underscore the harsh realities of this fictional world instead of simply appearing flashy. The focus on each character's emotional and philosophical journeys makes the anime a deeply contemplative and haunting work of sci-fi art. It uncompromisingly explores not only the inner workings of despair and loss, but also taps into a profoundly unsettling understanding of the human condition. Psycho-Pass. They said the world was going to end in 2012. Well, whatever did or didn't happen, the Psycho-Pass anime released that year and gave fans a gripping science fiction story set in futuristic Japan where the world kinda ended, in a way. This dark society is governed by what they call the Sybil system, powered by an AI program that analyzes the mental states and crime-committing probability of its citizens. The Sybil system can measure a person's potential for violence before they can even commit crimes. It achieves this through a Psycho-Pass, which complements the technologically advanced urban environment in this anime series. What looks like law and order on the surface hides a dystopian nightmare where free will is dead, all for the sake of perceived social safety. Akane Tsunemori leads the plot. This idealistic rookie inspector works closely with a conflicted enforcer named Shinya Kogami. Together, they navigate a disturbing web of moral complexity within their workplace, the Public Safety Bureau, an odd mixed message name there. Both agents have contrasting perspectives. Akane naively believes in justice while Kogami hungers for vengeance. Their motivations drive the core narrative of this anime, where the tension is as thick as the plot's psychological nuance. Grappling with morality, identity, and the price of a perfect society are just some of the tropes this show expertly highlights. What is justice, or free will for that matter? Such themes enrich the dark layers that fans have come to admire in Psycho-Pass. This 2012 anime explores philosophical questions about whether a system can truly judge human worth. It also sifts through the morally uncertain theory that sacrificing individuality for societal harmony is justified. The anime's Sybil system itself becomes a focal point for debates on ethics and the need to limit excessive reliance on AI tech. Even if reality doesn't learn from fiction, at least the characters in the Psycho-Pass anime do. Akane grows out of his naive optimism and gains renewed understanding about the world, while Kogami slowly gains control over her internal battle between duty and personal justice. The show's action sequences raise the stakes and unravel character motivations without deviating from the plot's core focus on the ethical dilemmas, psychological warfare, and emotional relevance. If this dark anime teaches us anything, it's that there's always a human cost to technological control. The thought-provoking storytelling in Psycho-Pass blends crime procedural elements with existential inquiry and delivers an intense series that is still considered ahead of its time. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Let's step back in time and visit the 90s for a spell. When Neon Genesis Evangelion released in 1995, most fans of the anime had a good feeling it would go on to become a landmark sci-fi piece. They were right. Set in a post-apocalyptic world where humankind faces existential threats from mysterious beings called angels, this unnerving tale unfolds in Tokyo 3. That's the name they gave the fortified city designed to fight the angel entities by primarily using giant biomechanical robots called Evangelions. An ingenious mix of futuristic technology, psychological unease, and dark existentialism defines this fascinating 90s anime. Shinji Ikari is our reluctant protagonist. He's an Evangelion mecha pilot who struggles with abandonment, self-worth, and the sheer weight of his responsibilities. His fate is entwined with other complex characters like Rei Ayanami, a mysterious and emotionally distant pilot, and Asuka Langley Sori, a fiercely competitive but emotionally vulnerable peer. Together, they explore vital sentiments like identity, human connection, the nature of consciousness, and the search for meaning. Neon Genesis Evangelion delves into deep philosophical questions, including about the self, one's purpose in life, and the lasting impact of trauma. On a surprising note, the anime also uses religious and psychological symbolism to convey the darker elements of its storyline. Characters confront their inner demons and broken psyches, making this anime go where few such stories go, into the treacherous territory of mental health, parent-child relationships, and personal choice. As raw as it is introspective, the non-linear and often surreal storytelling in Neon Genesis Evangelion sets it apart from almost every other sci-fi anime series out there. The visually striking action sequences are not only fantastic to watch, but also reflect the characters' emotional and psychological battles in nuanced ways. This anime compels us to confront uncomfortable truths, making it a timeless and influential work of art, and a well-deserved one at that. Serial Experiments Lane. Let's stick around the 90s for a little while longer and talk about the iconic 1998 sci-fi anime Serial Experiments Lane. This groundbreaking story explores the uncertain boundaries between reality and the digital world in ways that set the stage for nearly all cyberpunk stories that came later. Set in a near-future Japan, this discomforting tale presents a society that's increasingly dominated by a global internet-like network called the Wired. Despite such a concept being attached tad mundane, even for 1998 when the anime first released, turns out it's actually profoundly surreal. The real world and the digital one intertwine in ways that can be best called disorienting. Lane Iwakura leads this intriguing anime. The socially awkward teenage girl soon becomes entangled in the mysteries of the Wired. She can't help but dive deeper, only to end up questioning her own identity, reality, and the very nature of existence. An almost Alice in Wonderland-like vibe permeates Lane's journey. She later transforms from a passive observer to an active participant in both the digital and physical worlds. Themes like consciousness and technological transcendence soon take wing. What is reality? What role does existentialism play in each person's life? And how does technology impact human progress? To know that such advanced topics were being explored in an anime from 1998 makes us appreciate Serial Experiments Lane even more. The plot doesn't shy away from posing philosophical questions about oneself, soul, and the consequences of living in a hyper-connected world. The manner in which this eerie anime encourages us to realize the implications of a life that's overseen by digital interfaces makes us wonder if its creators didn't time travel to our decade before going back to the 90s to produce this anime. Lane's exploration of the Wired masterfully bridges her internal struggles with self-awareness. The plot portrays her mental and emotional journey in haunting and thought-provoking ways. This anime's abstract storytelling style infuses each scene with the enduring power of symbolism and imagery, and uses it to connect seemingly disjointed narratives into a disturbing fabric stitched with more than one interpretation. To call Serial Experiments Lane deeply immersive and intellectually stimulating would be putting it mildly. Though its action is minimal at best, we genuinely like how this stunning sci-fi anime focuses more on psychological tensions and philosophical queries and evokes in us a sense of existential dread. From this perspective, Serial Experiments Lane is a visionary anime that explores many facets of the digital age and touches upon high-end concepts similar to those found in Dune and Blade Runner. Parasite! Despite being a story essentially about an alien invasion, Parasite is anything but a cliché. It's a compelling sci-fi tale that transforms its own contemporary setting into a deeply disturbing possibility. This body horror manga originally came on the scene in 1989, with its anime version airing in 2014. Yet it also reminds us of the Demi Moore vehicle The Substance, which released in 2024. In the plot, parasitic aliens called, parasites invade Earth and take human hosts by consuming their brains. This anime certainly makes us want to breathe a sigh of relief that it's just fiction. Caught in this silently unraveling madness is protagonist Shinichi Izumi. The high schooler becomes a partial host. His parasite even has a name, Migi. The creature fails to take over his brain but settles for his right hand instead. Their unique coexistence forces Shinichi into a dangerous new reality. After all, humans and parasites are constantly at each other's throats and aren't known for working together. A clever blend of everyday urban life and moments of intense horror drives the plot of Parasite. This action-packed anime creates a stunningly tense and unpredictable atmosphere where normalcy wars with grotesque transformations and threatens our very understanding of identity and humanity. Think Philip Kaufman's Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets John Carpenter's The Thing, and you'll get an idea of just how dark this iconic anime is. Parasite blurs the boundaries between survival ethics and interspecies coexistence. Shinichi's growing bond with Migi is sufficient proof of that. Their bizarre relationship quickly becomes a focal point in the series, especially when both characters influence each other's perspectives. As for psychological depth, Shinichi's transformation from a typical teenager to a hardened survivor makes a solid case. He struggles with his changing emotions and physical abilities, not to mention his moral dilemmas, making Shinichi one of the most real and rooted fictional characters out there. As for the creepy cool Migi, the alien parasite's cold logic and lack of empathy powerfully contrasts Shinichi's unrelenting humanity. Parasite's character-driven story balances visceral action sequences with moments of introspection and emotional growth. Its narrative explores the consequences of the parasite invasion on both a personal and societal level, making this 2014 anime as disturbing as it is thought-provoking. Between the grotesque abilities of the parasites and Shinichi's desperate fight for survival, we don't know which part of this anime to call our favorite. Gantz! Modern-day Tokyo, but with a sci-fi twist. That's what Gantz had in store for fans when it released in 2004. The anime expertly treads the thin wall separating life and death and presents a provocative story that still disturbs us in the sci-fi sense of the word. Leading this elevating tale is Kei Korono and his childhood friend Masaru Kato, both of whom perish in a train accident only to be teleported to a mysterious room where a big black sphere called the Gantz has an even bigger surprise in store for them. They, along with other newly unlikely deads are forced to participate in deadly missions against different alien races that are intent on destroying humans. Our protagonists' reward for surviving the mad adventure? Their promise, their freedom. The story alternates between an urban environment and various surreal, high-stakes battlegrounds where specific missions take place. Our characters are put through the ringer and face not just a dark afterlife reality, but also some of the most brutal challenges found in the anime genre. Morality, as well as mortality, are central themes in this show. What's the value of a human life is a question that openly or silently manifests throughout Gantz. Existential thoughts, unethical survivalist tactics, and the sour grapes of violence are some other tropes that this anime tackles like a boss. Speaking of which, there are more than a few alien bosses in this show who will give you nightmares. The way each human character reacts to their dire circumstances and shows us their deepest fears, desires, and ethical limits is a testament to the disturbing brilliance of Gantz. Our main players, especially Kei Korono, work with the trauma of dying, not to forget the ongoing horror their Gantz-ordained missions bring. If that isn't dark, we don't know what is. The show also boasts a diverse roster of participants, each with their own backstories and motivations. Kei himself experiences one of the most amazing redemption arcs we've seen in an anime series. We can't stress enough the sheer emotional and psychological complexity of Gantz. Its intense and often graphic storytelling blends action, horror, and existential drama in unforgettable ways. The plot itself is raw and unfiltered exploration of human nature when under extreme duress. The high-octane action in Gantz involves visceral fight sequences and formidable aliens, each one as grotesque as they are heartless. This 2004 series presents an unflinching and dark portrayal of violence that has to be seen to be properly appreciated. Darker than black. Despite having released as early as 2007, there's something about the Darker Than Black anime that makes us feel as if it aired for the first time last week. This unusually captivating science fiction anime is set in a world where mysterious phenomena have verifiably altered reality. The story unfolds in an alternate version of Earth where two spatial anomalies, called Heaven's Gate and Hell's Gate, have appeared. Before long, we see contractors coming into play. They're individuals who possess supernatural abilities, but who must pay a personal price, aka remuneration, for even using their powers. It's almost like the 2024 solo leveling anime, come to think of it. Almost. Darker Than Black merges urban landscapes with shadowy underworlds, creating a noir-inspired atmosphere that's practically bursting with intrigue and danger. Amidst the sea of extraordinary abilities contained in the anime, morality and philosophy play potent roles. You'll come across more than a few ethical dilemmas as well. The contractors often show a serious lack of human emotion, which ideally contrasts those characters who actually give a damn. Lee Shenshun, codename Hei, is the lead in this disturbing tale. He's a contractor himself, a cold and efficient assassin who gradually shows a more complex and human side. His journey in Darker Than Black links up with key characters like Yin, an emotionless girl gifted with the power of prophecy, and Misaki Kirihara, a scrupulous detective who leaves no stone unturned. They bring their own struggles to the table: identity, loyalty, actions, consequences, you name it. One of the main highlights in this show is the concept of remuneration. Think about it for a sec. It forces contractors to perform specific, often bizarre actions after using their powers. We really like the psychological complexity and existential reflections this idea infuses into the series. The intricately layered storytelling in Darker Than Black blends episodic missions with an overarching plot that slowly but surely unveils the mysteries of the gates and the true nature of the contractors. Well-choreographed action sequences showcasing the diverse abilities of the contractors and their high-stakes battles is the cherry on this dark cake. If there's ever a dire 2K-era anime that masterfully combines moments of introspection with timely character development, it would be the rich and multifaceted sci-fi world of Darker Than Black. Genocyber. Fierce and dark are two words that ideally capture the essence of the Genocyber anime. This sci-fi jewel is set in a dystopian future where advanced biotechnology and cybernetics have resulted in the creation of extraordinarily destructive weapons. The miniseries spans multiple timelines and locations, including war-torn cities and high-tech laboratories. More than a few grim and gritty moments enrich this amazing anime where moral decay is a common concept. The perils of unchecked technological advancement is a trope that that keeps popping up in this story. We especially like the real-world relevance of this, and other themes like the ethics of genetic engineering and the consequences of human ambition. Now is the right time to remind you that Genocyber aired back in 1994. This revolutionary series is one of those where it's not uncommon to find a clever take on complex philosophical questions about the nature of humanity, the limits, or lack thereof, of scientific experimentation, and the potential for self-destruction in one's pursuit of power. The characters in Genocyber are deeply connected to the series' simmering darkness. The story follows Elaine and Diana, twin sisters with a mysterious connection to the Genocyber. Now, what is the Genocyber? It's a biomechanical weapon of immense power. Elaine's transformation into the Genocyber and Diana's psychic abilities drive the plot and generate waves of emotional value with a generous helping of psychological struggle. Our characters experience trauma, loss, and more, which successfully enriches an already well-packed anime. What does the human psyche experience under extreme stress? What are the moral ambiguities of survival? These and more are cleverly mapped out as the plot progresses. The way the core characters interact with the Genocyber and how they tackle their inner demons creates a haunting depiction of technological and genetic manipulation. The chaotic, non-linear storytelling in Genocyber might at first feel disorienting, but anime fans have since come to appreciate how such tales practically tell themselves. Its brutally graphic action sequences featuring intense battles and grotesque transformations further highlights the story's inclination towards the horrors of war. This series tweaked its own violence in such a way that it ended up creating an unsettling anime atmosphere, which has since set Genocyber apart in the realm of science fiction. Code Geass. Not every anime fan can properly pronounce this name, but almost every anime fan has heard about or seen this iconic series. Code Geass aired its riveting first season back in 2006, and Sci-Fi has never been the same since. The entire plot is set in an alternate timeline where the Holy Britannian Empire has conquered most of the world, including Japan, which it rechristened Area 11. Imagine a gloriously dark tale filled with political intrigue, advanced mecha combat, and supernatural abilities. Code Geass delivers on all three counts and creates a rich and dynamic world where futuristic technology sits snugly alongside historical and geopolitical elements. Pushing tropes like rebellion, power, and morality to disturbing highs and just as disturbing lows has made this anime a mega hit among fandom. Philosophical queries about the nature of justice, the cost of wielding power, and the ethical dilemma of revolution all feature strongly in the plot. The protagonist himself has become an icon over the years. There are few who haven't heard the name Lelouch Lamperouge. He's a disenfranchised prince of Britannia who later gains the power of Geass and uses it unscrupulously to command absolute obedience. His quest to overthrow Britannia and create a better world for his sister, Nunnally, is highly engaging, but it also raises questions about the ends justifying the means. Lelouch's strategic brilliance is thus balanced by his internal struggles with guilt, loyalty, and the weight of his decisions. His complex relationships with characters like Suzaku Kurorugi, his bestie and polar opposite when it comes to ideologies, further enriches the plot. His bond with CC, the immortal witch who grants him the Geass power in the first place, imparts an added layer of emotional and psychological intrigue to the story. You wouldn't be wrong to think of this anime as a grand misadventure in the unmaking. Political drama, personal vendettas, and supernaturalism carry it across the finish line with artistic aplomb. Code Geass contains a range of unexpected twists and brilliantly conceptualized tactical warfare sequences, all of which do this sci-fi series outstanding credit. Kaiju number 8. Ingesting a parasitic creature and attaining the ability to turn into a kaiju. The premise of this next anime is already shaping up to be the stuff that sci-fi dreams are made of. Kaiju number 8 is set in a world where monstrous creatures called, kaiju frequently attack Japan. Godzilla most probably inspired this trend, that is one iconic kaiju after all. Kaiju number 8 is filled with action, humor, and plot twists galore. In this story, we see protagonist Kafka Hibino joining the defense force and realizing his dream goal to shield human beings. Amusingly enough, he's given the disappointing role of cleaning up kaiju remains instead. His journey gets a dramatic twist when he is transformed into a kaiju himself. Despite having immeasurable newfound powers, he still retains his human consciousness. This anime highlights the importance of perseverance, especially the struggle between humanity and monstrosity. In Kaiju number 8, we also see deep philosophical layers, like what it means to be human, the core essence of power, and the ethical implications of using monstrous abilities no matter the reason. Kafka memorably navigates his dual existence and puts on quite a show in the process. His strength and power aside, aside, the man is no stranger to fear and anxiety. This anime did good by his character and made him afraid of losing his humanity. He's also anxious about his responsibilities now that he can wield kaiju-level power. Other noteworthy characters further enrich this engaging sci-fi story. Kafka's childhood friend Mina Ashiro, who becomes a high-ranking officer in the Defense Force, is a fine character in her own right. Then there's Rino Ichikawa, a determined young recruit. They both bring captivating emotional and psychological layers to the plot. Edge-of-your-seat action sequences served with dynamic character development and disturbing possibilities garnished with engaging humor have set this story up for greatness. Besides camaraderie and rivalry, particularly in the Defense Force, this anime also highlights the broader societal impact of kaiju attacks. Godzilla fans will most certainly appreciate this element, mainly because it lends much-needed perspective on this whole kaijus destroying cities concept. A relatively recent release, the 2024 Kaiju No. 8 anime contains a regaling growth arc for the protagonist Kafka and showcases the thrilling strategies of the Defense Force, not to forget the ever-evolving kaijus themselves. It doesn't get more quintessentially sci-fi than this. Dandadan! This anime only just came out. Dandadan has been making sci-fi waves since it aired in 2024. As vibrant as it is unconventional, there's so much worth appreciating about this darkly bohemian story. In it, you'll find supernatural, extraterrestrial, and comedic tropes all rolled into a colorful feast for the anime senses. The plot has a contemporary setting where the ordinary and the extraordinary collide. As for its trending characters, they're high school students who encounter ghosts and aliens and try to make sense of their disturbing dilemma. This anime's unpredictable backdrop has made it extra adventurous. Themes like courage, friendship, and coexistence of different realities play significant storytelling roles. As the plot thins the boundaries between seen and unseen worlds, the series adeptly highlights the power of human connection. In this is Dandadan's secret weapon for success. The protagonists learn to reconcile their differences and, in doing so, unwittingly create a fresh take on traditional sci-fi and supernatural stories. Ken Takakura, aka Okarun, and Momo Ease are the quirkiest duo in the Dandadan universe. Their contrasting personalities and complementary skills make them effortlessly compelling. A timid boy obsessed with the paranormal? That's Okarun. A bold girl with a knack for exorcisms? That's Momo. Throw in some bonding arcs, character developments, and psychological depth, and you have yourself two of the most relatable characters created for anime in 2024. Okarun and Momo confront their fears and insecurities while battling otherworldly threats, and we love them for it. The supernatural and extraterrestrial beings they encounter add an amazing glaze of darkness to the overall tale. The monsters challenge Okarun and Momo to conquer their own limits. The show's action sequences are energetic and imaginative. They feature creative battles with ghosts and aliens and showcase the main character's ingenuity and teamwork. These moments are balanced with comedic and heartfelt scenes, making this anime a well-rounded entertainer. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that a combination of horror, sci-fi, and comedy might give anime fans supernatural constipation, but with Dandadan, it instead becomes a delicious feast that will make you believe you still have room for some disturbing dessert. Ghost in the Shell. Before there was Cyberpunk a la 2077, there was Cyberpunk a la Ghost in the Shell. This legendary 1995 anime still maintains a seminal benchmark in the sci-fi genre. Its setting captures a futuristic world where cybernetic enhancements and artificial intelligence are part and parcel of society. A sprawling, technologically advanced city with cyberpunk aesthetics may seem commonplace today, but it was avant-garde for a 90s anime whose entire story revolved around this theme. Fascinating tropes like identity, consciousness, and what it means to be human, in an age where the line between organic and synthetic grows increasingly blurred, shows great promise in Ghost in the Shell. Now, about this ghost, it simply refers to the essence of a person's consciousness versus their shell, namely their physical body or cybernetic form. Major Motoko Kusanagi is the cyborg protagonist of this anime. She's a gifted officer serving in the elite counter-cyberterrorism unit, Section 9. Career accomplishments aside, her life is marred by dark and deep introspections about her own existence and the nature of her human consciousness. Interesting side characters like Batou, Togusa, and Chief Aramaki impart the series with their own distinct perspectives and struggles, which exemplify so much of what this anime is about. This sleek and strategic tale frames high-tech combat and cyber warfare in ways that have since set a golden standard in cyberpunk storytelling. Ghost in the Shell definitively explores the impact of futuristic tech on the human condition. This anime's evocative and provocative storytelling complements its action-packed sequences and elevates the philosophical ideas nestled at the heart of the plot. Blame! This is the first and only sci-fi anime movie to grace our list. Blame is one of those singular stories where dystopia and futurism merge to create an outstanding impact. This 2017 anime film unfolds in a hopeless future where humanity is pushed to the brink of extinction after society is overrun by robots. It focuses on the vast labyrinthine megastructure simply known as the City, which is spread like a cancer to different planets and even dimensions. As awe-inspiring as it is oppressive, Blame contains ideas and concepts that have long defined the science fiction genre. This includes existentialism and survivalism. What happens to a society that fails to stop unchecked technological growth? Blame casts, well, blame on select fictional parties for that. Using all the right tropes and tricks, this anime movie presents dark possibilities while exploring philosophical questions about the role of humanity in a machine-dominated world. Is there any redemption for our species in such a seemingly hope-dead environment? That remains to be seen. Get it? To be seen in the movie? Anyways, we're moving on. Killy leads the character roster as the silent and enigmatic protagonist of Blame. He's basically a wanderer on a mission to find the net terminal gene. This is the key to restoring control over the city megastructure. His journey exposes him to various factions and individuals, each with their own agendas and struggles. Killy's stoic demeanor and relentless pursuit of his aim are inspiring. This kid's actions certainly speak louder than his words. Sorry, did we say kid? Killy is actually 3,000 years old and a cyborg to boot. This is one of the more fascinating elements in this dark and disturbing story, which, as expected, came from the ingenious mind of Tsutomu Nihei. The man's latest manga, Tower Dungeon, is already making waves through the fandom. We've got a video just for that, so check it out if you haven't seen it already. The link is in the description below. Other noteworthy characters like Sibo, a scientist who becomes Killy's ally, adds to the rich tapestry of moments and memories contained in this tale. Killy and Sibo's bond highlights themes like trust, cooperation, and the human desire for connection in a broken world. The shockingly minimalistic storytelling in Blame is actually its greatest strength. Moody, surreal, and heavily reliant on visual storytelling and environmental cues to convey its narrative, this risky but distinct approach to storytelling works wonders for the 2017 anime. Such context-based inferences are sure to make Blame appear hauntingly different with each viewing. Intense combat scenes featuring hostile machines and various other threats further instill the brutality of this dystopia and its characters' unending fight for basic human dignity and survival. Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Based on the super hit game Cyberpunk 2077, the Edgerunners anime adaptation made a stunning impression right from the get-go. Set in the dystopian metropolis of Night City, this 2024 series boasts a sprawling urban jungle where advanced technology and corporate greed dominate every aspect of life. A memorable soundtrack and a neon-lit cyberpunk world, replete with towering skyscrapers, gritty streets, and a pervasive sense of civilizational decay, capture the core essence of this universe. With excess and inequality occupying opposite ends of the ring, this story keeps its premise to fans of the game and anime alike by delivering a superb story well told. Timeless tropes like rebellion, identity, ambition, and the limits of sanity, we're looking at you, cyberpsychosis, play integral roles in the plot. As for the psychosis we just mentioned, it grazes the all-too relevant topic of mental illness. In the cyberpunk universe, cyberpsychosis can and does affect people who possess certain types of cybernetic implants. Cyberpunk Edgerunners gradually establishes important themes like the value of freedom, the negative impact of technological augmentation on humanity, and the moral compromises made in the pursuit of power. The corruption that prevails throughout Night City is but a symptom of the debilitating disease that all its citizens are willingly or otherwise being exposed to. Little wonder why this anime's dystopian plotline contains so many clashes between individual choice and societal control. David Martinez fulfills the role of the protagonist. The street-smart teenager turns to a life of crime after a personal tragedy. Before long, the disillusioned lad gathers some reputation and power, enough at least to become a cybernetically enhanced edge runner. However, he no longer believes he can attain his quest for purpose, let alone protect those he cares about. Enter Lucy. This mysterious netrunner has her own secrets. She later becomes David's love interest in the anime. Then there's Maine, a veteran edgerunner whose presence further elevates the plot. Struggling with his cybernetic augmentations and the toll they seem to be taking on his humanity, David becomes a conflicted character in more ways than one. His desire for power and his fear of losing himself to cyberpsychosis is a poignant balancing act. one which David deftly performs in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This fast-paced and emotionally charged story combines the high-octane action and tech-driven warfare in the original game from CD Projekt Red with moments of heart-wrenching introspection. This distinct narrative has since occupied its own cozy niche in the cyberpunk anime universe, or should we say metaverse. Marvelous verdict! Some of the best sci-fi stories ever made are also some of the darkest, and we love them for that. In this video, we showed you our top 15 picks for some of the darkest, most disturbing anime of all time. What's your favorite sci-fi anime? Did it make the list? Which one's your favorite of the ones we did mention? We'd love to hear more from you down in the comments below. You've been watching Marvelous Videos. Punch those like and subscribe buttons. We have such sights to show you.